Hey everybody, looks like some people forgot that tonight is aligning with success night, or they're either not aligned or they are traveling or just joining us a little bit late. Boy, I just got back from a pretty whirlwind tour, and it feels like I'm just here and I'm already in prep for leaving. So I just went across Canada, did a trek across the country to announce the good news, as they say. And now next is Orlando for the big event, and then down to Colombia and Peru for my first visit down there. So it's going to be a little bit hectic, a little bit busy. I don't know if I can make the time zone regularity of this call. So it's going to be sort of hit and miss while I'm there and more clear about my schedule. But it's 2 weeks from now is like light years away for me right now. I'm so on right now, developing and getting ready for our materials. By the way, I've got some good news. Looks like we're going to have a bunch of tools available, a bunch of new tools available at the Orlando event, and also available for ordering and reordering. So all of those provisions have sort of come together in the last 48 hours magically and mysteriously, as you know, that law of attraction tends to be so magical and mysterious. But I'm really excited about what we've got coming out and what we sort of put together as core elements for setting a system of duplication in motion. And so I wanted to maybe share a little bit about what I'm learning as I'm going across the country and picking up as some key insights that and of course, whatever you guys have been experiencing as well, because you haven't been sleeping either. So tonight is a night of updates. So if we can, I'm just going to start with a couple of things that are coming to mind on my end, if that's all right with everybody. First of all, I'm glad to be back, but I'm not back for long. Most of you I'm going to see down in Orlando. So one of the things as I was going across the country, and particularly in Canada, I'm noticing is the expectation for someone to go silver. I had a visit with a gal who was very active, and when she said to me, and she introduced me to someone, and then shortly after that someone walked away, she said, "That's my next silver. I'm pretty sure she's going to get done by the end of the year." Now, does that strike as anybody as a little odd?
1 month. 1 month.
Okay, so clearly there's something going on where the message is, or the expectation has not been correctly established. We're hoping that with the new materials that we're publishing, that will really quickly change. But what is your recommendation for what should be a legitimate expectation? Let me just frame this properly. You've just enrolled somebody new, brand spanking new. They're excited. They don't know a lot, but they're excited. Given that you know what you know, and that you can tee up the expectations for them without them really having to pay too much attention to it, because they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what's right and what's wrong, and they don't know what they can do and what they can't do. They don't have those limiting beliefs yet. What are you going to tee up as an expectation in getting their business off the ground? What would you say is a legitimate time frame for helping somebody achieve the rank of silver? Michelle, is that your finger up?
1 month.
1 month. Stan, you're 3 months? 3 months, okay. Anyone else? Madeline, 1 month?
And I'm saying 1 month because of what I've learned. And I keep thinking back to what I did in 1998, silver in 1 month, when it was, and then I had 2 other silvers. There was the Japan contest and the 4th silver, because I had 2 deep in one, well, counting myself. I got myself to silver, and then the 3 other silvers, I was gold by the 5th month, and those were all with 20,000 in 1 month. And it's me and my expectation in that sense of urgency, and it was before I knew too much. And then once I knew too much, that got into my way, and I started teaching too much, and that's what I've continued to do. So that's been my real lesson learned in this first 3 months of this year.
By the way, that's a really good lesson learned, because in my hour-and-a-half long conversation with Gustavo Gomez and Luis Casuga in Mexico, that is one of the points that they actually made. They made a point that they save the training for after someone gets started. They have a quick start program, what they call Perfect Start, and they expect to help that person get off the blocks in the first 7 days very, very quickly. And it's not until they're already in motion and they're already establishing some results before they even begin to talk about the training aspect of Nikken, which comes later. So that's what they learn. They learn that the more someone is trained up front, the longer it takes them to do anything.
And I use the 21 clubs.
Yeah, the Entrepreneurs
all the
Club.
silvers that I helped, including Eunice who's here, all those that I helped spin off over the years. I did 21 clubs with all of them. I probably did 21 clubs. Michael, I've made these attempts with these people. There is something different about this time, and I hope that we're going to.
Yeah, please. This is good, because this is important, because we do have to identify what's different about these times, because I'm not convinced that we're not setting up the situation. Remember, the law of attraction says we are attracting the circumstances. So if we go by the law, then somehow we're creating the reality. We're creating the situation.
Well, these first level execs that I've created with them, I want to do it and I'm going to do it. And they come onto these calls and then they don't do it. They've come to your events and the other events where we've had Gary, and Dan. They're still first.
That was interesting. We just had like a repeat.
Yeah. And so I mean, so they've had the A, they've had the big event.
Pause.
No, too much.
Pause. Okay, so what I'm identifying and what you're saying is the need for us, upline, to initiate action with these new people. In other words, having A's come from afar to do an event is not initiating action. Ben has been repeating this point several times. He's been saying it's the gap that we need to fill between. We got to fill the pipeline from the beginning. We don't wait until the event to come before and make the event the be all end all, that it's supposed to do everything that you're inviting to the event. No. You're not inviting to the event. You're inviting to the process. The event is part of the process. This is so fundamental. This is what I'm experiencing right now, is one of the big gaps. People are inviting to the event. They're not inviting to the process. The event is embedded in the process. Yes, Michelle.
Can I say something to that? I think the terminology then, I just had an aha, needs to change. That the bigger events are the locked-in events. So people think that I'm going to get these people to this event because they're going to make a decision at that event. The decision should have been made already. So maybe we need to change that terminology.
Well, the question is, what are we locking them in? You see, if you go the zigzag process, which, by the way, that's one of the tools that's being published. So that's going to be in everybody's face from now on. The idea that there is 3 very specific conversations that have to happen, and the lock-in is after the third, not after the first. So the lock-in is locking them into what they have been through, which is the 3 stages. So if we're using the main event as a lock-in event, then it's locking in what they are already aware of and on the cusp of making a decision. So they should know what the decision looks like, and maybe they have not yet made a commitment or a full-out commitment, which again is very defined in that zigzag process, because a person may have become a customer or a person may have become a consultant and still have not yet activated, still not yet made the investment. So we've not finished the process just because they've enrolled. So part of the thing that we need to shift is our understanding that a consultant isn't anything until they've made a commitment, and getting involved in Nikken is not a commitment. that has to become part of the absolutely understanding that it is expressed and repeated through and through. So I wanted to get back, before we lost this point, back to Madeline here. The idea of a month versus 3 months for a silver, and the fact that something's changed in how things are happening at a certain speed. But I'm identifying certain things, and I want to see how this resonates with you. So one of the things I'm identifying is the expectation is longer. And I'm talking about silver. I haven't mentioned the incentive programs yet, because one of the things that tease up the experience or the run for silver is what?
The incentives.
Which one?
The Entrepreneurs Club.
The Entrepreneurs Club. Now, how many of you have an Entrepreneurs Club recipient in the last 3 months?
There's only been one in the whole 3 months on the top list. Only
Okay.
one.
So clearly the behavior is not a reflection, an accurate reflection of what we should be doing, but it is a reflection of perhaps expectations. Okay, so
that's where I've said to the people that I'm working with, if you want this, let's make the list. We'll sit down together. We'll start doing the calls. And here's the Entrepreneurs Club. And I've said that as the expectation. And some of what I'm getting is the working 2 jobs or the working 14-hour days. You know, Joe the painter is a good example, 7 days a week. Well, do you want to get out of this? Yes, I want to get out of it. But yet not enough to make the list and make some of the contacts to get that done in a month and just get it done. Okay,
but they're not so much, they shouldn't be so preoccupied as to whether it should happen in a month or not. That's the training component, where we don't really want them trained. What we want is them initiated.
All right.
We want to initiate action. And so what if the action that was initiated resulted in them hitting the Entrepreneurs Club, resulted in them going silver? See, that's where you guys as experts come in. It's your expectations, and then what do you have as expectations for them? And I'll give you an example. I expect that a person is going to expose me to their top 20 people in the first week. Now, you're going to say, yeah, but that's a serious commitment. Yes, it is. It's a reflection of my expectations. So, and if they're not prepared to do that, then I'm going to ask them, what exactly are they prepared to do? Because they said they wanted to succeed at this business, and I know what it takes to succeed. So that's one thing, one piece of the puzzle. Here's another piece of the puzzle that we dropped. And by the way, what's happening, this is all under the purview of the MLM model versus the direct sales model, okay? So we've gone so heavy on the direct sales model that we've almost all but forgotten the MLM model, which runs on a different engine. It's a different fuel. Let's call it different fuel than the direct sales model. So the MLM model, if you remember, one of the first things a person needs to make is a commitment to what? Time, money, and contacts. So if we've become very gun shy about our time and their time, then we're going to be a little bit more loosey-goosey about time commitment rather than a focused effort to get them launched. 2, what about the investment? Because of all these question marks around how do I get somebody started, so that, remember, the engine in network marketing is people invest in their business, and that in the past has resulted in them advancing in rank. There's been incentives for that to happen. The situation is now that we have to place that order through a retail customer. So do it. Place the order through a retail customer. It's still the same order. So then the question becomes, well, what's the order? Now the MLM model says, well, there's a good, there's a better, and there's a ideal or a best. Do you have a recommended good, better, best? Probably not, because if it's not written, you don't have one. So we're going to go through this exercise of having at least a piece of paper that documents our recommendation, because I think it's perfectly legitimate to recommend a good and a better and a best way of getting their business going, getting their Nikken distributorship initiated. So if you think about it, think about what a good pack would look like. Think about what a better pack would look like. Think what the best pack would look like. My benchmarks are 500, 1,000, and 2,000. Those are my benchmarks in today's expectations. Back when I was first launching my Nikken business, it was higher than that. It was 1,500, 3,000, and 5,000. And you and I, we all know on this call that $5,000 of products in Nikken would get you maybe just about one of everything, not even. So we're not front-end loading anybody, but we don't want to trip anybody's crazy wires in terms of the FTC or the whatever they are. So the point is $500 too much? No. Is 1,000 too much? You can't even buy a sleep system and a complete sleep system for 1,000. So hell no. So start thinking in terms of your recommendations of good, better, and best as a rule that you're going to duplicate through this organization. And what I'm saying to you right now is what I've always done when I've initiated action where a new distributor is concerned. I have to have a system that I'm going to roll out through them that's duplicatable. And so what are the decision points? That's where you have to systematize. What are the decision points? That's what has to be systematic. So I want to be very clear and create an emphasis and a recommendation wherever those decision points are. So one of them is time. How much? Show me your calendar. Let's fit this in. Let's put 2 or 3 dates on the calendar that I'm coming to your place, or you're coming to my place, or we're going to meet halfway, but we're doing this. Launch. 2, good, better, best. I don't care which one of the 3, pick one. Because it's got to be duplicatable. But pick one, giving yourself the best start possible. The more exposure you have to the products, the better.
Well,
then
I think you have to have those demonstration products. If somebody's going to have a business, they need to have their own to demonstrate. You know, so we did have the packs before, and they served a purpose. If they were
I had packs, Madeline, before we had packs from Nikken. What I had was a recommendation. So I strongly advise you to have your recommended good, better, best to initiate action where your consultants are concerned and move that through your organization. As we start moving in this direction and pick up the MLM model again, we'll start to formalize this. Like I said, I've been working on tools, so we're going to have some of those things documented so that we'll circulate them.
I think the only thing that we need to say along with that is also have your plan for your customer list. You know, you need to be get those that you speak to.
We are not excluding that. We're not excluding that.
No, all I'm saying is I agree with you that we went so much the other direction on all of this retail customer, including this product launch. We talked about it on the Platinum Alliance today. Primarily, who's buying the packs are the current wholesale customers, distributors, because
that's right.
They had some part of it. New customers coming in. We've been doing all these little product sales, and they're not going to put out $1,000 on that 3-month pack unless they really want to lose the weight and they're a part of somebody that's their why. They want to start with that why.
Well, keep this in mind, Madeline. Somebody is going to invest in the business in a bigger way when there's a reason to invest in the business. Yeah. Spending money is something that people are gun shy about. Investing money, they don't have a problem with. So it's the question of how are we presenting this? Again, that goes back to our process. What's our process communicating from the first words out of our mouth? If I'm out there looking for help because I've got an agenda, a big agenda, and I need the help, well, that's going to set up a certain process. If I'm out there looking to help somebody, that's a different process, unless that help is very clearly financial. So it's important that we set the tone for the process, and then the process does the rest. It does the filtering.
I believe I've done that. So what I also know, my other mistake that I'll admit to, I'll do a confession here, is not seeing enough new people, still working with those few, you know, going out and actually seeing more new people to sort for more, to have more in the pipeline, really look for those people. I don't know. I think that's probably true of most of us. I don't think I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Been seeing enough new people and asking for the business. We've had a couple sessions with Dave Rolfe, some people have, and Mikey certainly has affirmed this. I mean, he's taught the network marketing model. He said everything that you're saying now, the good, better, best. And if you're looking for a business and you want to make money, these are the things you need to do. Same steps.
Right. Okay. So so there's things that you need to add into your arsenal, things that you need to add into your conversation and your expectations, so that, again, we're teeing this thing up. Remember, what we're trying to do is initiate action. So time, money, and then there's contacts. Now, if we're not committed and holding them somewhat accountable to this contact list, then they're going to put you in front of anybody or nobody, or they might contact 3 people and nobody else because those 3 people shot them down. So if they're not willing to make the initial investment, which is their time, money, and contacts, their contact list is their biggest investment. If they're not prepared to do that, then what does that really mean about their expectations concerning success?
Not ready.
And so what I have found is the more committed I am to their level of initiation, let's say, the level of, are they going to be an 8, 9, or 10 where that's concerned, the more committed I am to following through on that, the more likely I found somebody who's actually going to go into business with me and create that result. But the more lax I am about it, then what I have is a whole bunch of wannabes. And the problem with surrounding yourself with wannabes, it's a very foolish position to be in as the CEO of your company.
It's exhausting.
It's totally exhausting. It's a waste of effort. And you're not doing anybody a favor by, patronizing a wannabe. So I'm more focused and more committed. This is part of my presentation in Orlando, but just consider the things that I have done where the launch partners are concerned. Well, why would I have committed to them? Because they have reciprocated by doing the commitments that I've asked them to make. So it's a hand-in-hand thing, right? It's one of those situations where you push, I push, and we balance each other out. But if I'm pushing and you're not there, I'm totally wasting my time. So it comes down to setting up the proper expectations to initiate that action, to get that business off the ground. So time, money, contacts, those are 3 critical components to getting this business set up to succeed. And then the initiation of action is, let's start making those calls. Let's start seeing those people. And the frequency with which that happens is going to determine the flow through the pipeline, the flow through the process, which has a consequence. It's a 1 in 3, 1 in 3, 1 in 3. So you need to ramp up the flow if you think that they're going too slow. So even if they were not going too slow, let's take a look at Stan's projection of 3 months. We know 30 people completing the process is a guarantee silver. Right? That's 90 people that's been contacted, invited over 3 months. That's 30 a month. That's 1 a day. That's 1 person a day. Now, if you relate 1 person contacted per day as a level of commitment to somebody who has an expectation to get out of their job, or an expectation to relay that, transfer that 1 a day level of commitment to their expectation, what it is that they want from their business, you might find, wait a second, that hardly is a reflection of somebody who is at all serious about the goal or the expectation they have. I'm not sure where this feedback's coming from. Madeline, let me just try muting you for a second and see if it's your line. I'm not sure if it's your line. No, it's not. Okay, so I'm getting it somewhere. Where am I getting it from?
Shirley's not.
Okay, I'm not sure, but it's sounding back to us. Okay, so let me just back up for a second. Really important. if they're only minimally contacting one a day, then that's a really, really low level of involvement, because that might result in one person, maybe two people at most per week, wanting to have that conversation, that serious conversation with them. One, maybe two per week. That doesn't sound like somebody who plans to go very far, very fast. And as busy as people are, I sponsored one guy some years ago who had 7 businesses all running at the same time. Well, how did he manage to do it? We picked a night and he managed to get 12 people, 13 people in his living room.
I think our best example is Ben with 7 kids crawling all over him.
So again, it goes back to what's the expectation? So does that not go back to what they want? And that goes back to the very, very first conversation in the prospecting or the partnering process. Did you have that conversation? Did you make notes? Do you know what they really want? Do they really want what they say they want? Because if the motivation to go after this isn't there, all the instruction or none of the instruction won't matter. They simply won't follow through. So, yes, Michelle.
Can I just say something? You met Ron this last week.
Yeah.
And what's holding him back is his own self-confidence. Okay? So I think that, I don't think that's outside of the norm.
Nope.
So what I did with him, this is kind of unusual, but what I did with him this weekend at a trade fair is I said, okay, we're going to make up a whole bunch of shakes. We're going to, here I gave him 2 canisters of shake, the vanilla and the chocolate. I said, we're going to all of the vendors. We're going to offer protein shakes. And I said, and I want you to do it. And this is how we're going to make contact. So out of that, I did the first 12 people, I guess, with him. And then I sent him on his own. And I said, you come back with some contacts. I didn't leave a number. I said, just come back with contacts. He came back with 8 contacts, and every one of those 8 people come to our booth to learn more. So what it did was it created a bit of excitement. It created some self-confidence in himself. But just having that little bit of success made a huge difference in how he feels.
Thanks, Michelle. This goes back to what I'm learning from the Latin Americans, and how they initiate activity. Again, it comes back to initiating activity. So we've gotten to a point where we're expecting them to initiate the activity because they know what we told them. They now know everything, so why aren't they doing it? No. They may know, but they lack the confidence. You don't. So here's where your expectations, where your confidence, where your expertise as an A, where all your competence comes in. They have low competence perhaps, or low confidence. You have high competence and high confidence. That offsets that. And so you go into that experience, creating the first few initial contacts. It's initiating that activity. You may have a pro that doesn't need your help, your hand-holding where that's concerned. They just need a little bit of an orientation. And for them, I recommend the contact and invite materials that we've been going through. So, but it is the level of expectation, and then the proper level of commitment in terms of investment of time, money, contacts. And then does that back up, or does their activity in contacts per day back up the expectation? That's how you know. It's like a person saying, hey, I really want to work and make some money. And the boss says, well, there's 40 hours a week available. Perfect. That's great. And they show up for 5 of those 40 hours. Well, it wouldn't be long before they didn't have a job, first of all. And secondly, you start to question whether or not they were serious about what they were asking for. So it's about us. They are just who they are. They're acting in a manner that's consistent with their thought process. But I would put it on myself to say, is there something that I didn't complete with them so I can relieve myself of the guilt or the burden that maybe it was my fault that they didn't know what they needed to do, or they didn't quite understand what they needed to do, or whatever it is. I'm going to eliminate that because I'm going to make sure that I've completed the process. Because I know if I've gone through that entire process, the zigzag, I know there's nothing I've left out. I know that there's no way they can't make a decision, and if they don't, I make it for them.
I think Michelle's example is a good one. You know, you talk about the confident person who's going to be able to go out and do it. I did it and didn't have somebody doing it with me, but not everybody is that confident or that.
Well, Madeline, if you were launching a brand new person and they had a brand new contact list, or they were working on one, who were the people that you would be willing to get in a car and drive and go and see? You personally.
With them, the best.
With them, the best ones. And how would you measure that?
Having them telling me more about them, telling me a little bit about them. How do they know them? What do they like about them? Whatever.
Okay. So that right. So this, we republished the $1 Million List, which has EIRL. So that's going to be a little helpful tool to get them engaged in creating a list and scoring that list. So it gives you a little bit of a help too to say, hey, let's just look at your top 20 on that list, just by numbers. Just go by number. And then you can start asking those questions as you're looking to populate the information you need for that initial contact. Why do you like this person? I know why you scored them high, but why do you like them?
Well, and I think in going with them and showing, just like Michelle just did, I parallel it back when I taught nursing clinically. You know, when you go from that lab out to see into the pre-conference to go out to see the patients for the first time, you have to push them out of the room. They keep coming back into the conference room or go with them. Some are so afraid to go in and really see and talk to the first real patient rather than Mrs. Chase in the lab. And so for many people, it is that fear of talking, or am I going to say the wrong thing? People ask that. What script do I say? Have the conversation and ask questions. Or if I go along, when I offer to come along, then I'm going to be too pushy and I'm going to interrupt. And so they think I'm going to chase them away. And so I've tried to work on that and be less assertive. And then that hasn't helped either. And so I am frustrated with it, Mike. I'm glad we're having this conversation tonight. Okay,
so my advice for Madeline is when you hit a roadblock with somebody, but you know that somebody's committed, but you're still in a roadblock there, and you're not getting the communication through because you're the B to them.
Yes.
What do you need to do?
Get another A.
Yeah, you get another A. If you want to salvage that situation, get an A.
And I think I saw her name on here there is Christine, and Christine has felt that way with me, and so she's very comfortable with Bob and Sue, and Bob and Sue have been very willing to work with her, and that's fine with me. I've said that to Bob and Sue, and I've said it to Christine and to Eunice as well. It's important to match the personality with somebody who they're comfortable with.
Most certainly in the ABC. Yeah. Most certainly that helps. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the ABC is a key strategy for initiating action. Sending a B out on their own is not an ABC. So that ABC becomes fundamental to the initiation process. But if you're going to invest your time as an A, don't you want to know that on the other end of that is a C worth your investment of time? So there has to be some expectations going into this relationship, some expectations going into the work ethic, some expectations going into the development of their contact list, which is part of their investment in the business. As well, some expectation in their investment in the products. That's all part of it. And that way you set up a system for duplication. If you just look at the decision points, and what are the expectations around those decision points? There may be maybe 5 or 10 tops, 5, maybe 10 decision points where there needs to be a very clear cut, it's this or it's this, or it's this or this, but it's clearly a decision that needs to get made. Then when you define those choices and when they occur, you have a system. You have a system that you can teach, that you can duplicate. And it's just simply then a matter of following the protocol. You know, if you consider Madeline or anyone out in the health business, you guys all learn protocol. You all learn how to manage a certain situation through protocol, and therefore that gives you a systematic approach to any number of possibilities, but it's a protocol you follow to narrow down the choices and the options. This is exactly what this filter or this funnel process is. It's simply a protocol that helps us narrow down who's doing what, who's going to be a customer, who's going to be a consultant, who's going to be a source of referrals, who's going to be a partner. And then we just nail down the decision points along that path and say, okay, we're at this point, this is what needs to happen next. We're not at this point, this is what needs to happen next, etc. And so I've tried that with the zigzag, is to define all what I consider the decision points. Interested, not interested. Customer, consultant. Partner or consultant. The difference, time, money, and contacts, and a 90-day push. So those are the decision points. Then in the engagement, in the initiation of action, $1 million list. Let's get that list. Let's qualify that list, and let's target the first 10 people we're going to go out and see together. So that is how we move it into the next decision point. Then, of course, if you're getting hemming and hawing there, then you have to check under the hood and make sure there's actually an engine there, and ask the person, you really want this or not? I mean, are you serious or not? So it gives you a very clear system so that frustration comes from inactivity. It doesn't come from not knowing what's supposed to be happening next. And the frustration of inactivity can be overcome because there's 7 billion people on the planet. We can find someone else. But when you don't know, or you're confused and you're not uncertain, then that's where the frustration leads to more frustration. So having a protocol that you're following is a system. Having a system is MLM. And by the way, Robert Kiyosaki's work, or for that matter, anybody else who teaches the idea of that beautiful income called residual income or compounded income, they all tell you what the wealthy do is they create a system. They follow a system. It's a system that they leverage. So leverage the system. That's the key. But you have to define it. Okay. Let's see. What else have I encountered? That's pretty much the long and short of it. I think most of the stuff that I've encountered is the same as you as far as who's buying the launch packs, primarily consultants. But then if you consider this, by the way, the one point that I got of one of the presentations, one of my youngest guys, 22-year-old, did a presentation. Christian Obey in Calgary did the product presentation. He did before and after shots of his body. It's pretty cool. But anyway, the thing that I really took away from his presentation that he made such a great emphasis on was his own personal experience. He says, once I got my day started, the rest was easy because I didn't want to screw up the beginning. So he just made a point of getting his day started because that's what he had heard. He had heard if you start your day right mentally, and then if you start your day right with your breakfast, you're on the right path. And so his focus where the product launch was concerned was start with KVB. Start your day that way, period. Then if you want to add to that, you can add to that. But start your day that way. Make that your very first intake in terms of a food intake. And you've given your body the best shot, and you've given your mind the best shot, and you've got yourself on the right trajectory. And the rest of the day is going to go pretty easy because you're already establishing a commitment to a healthy approach to living because you've made that commitment. Start your day right. What a brilliant message, for a little 22-year-old. Awesome.
It's also an application of that trajectory.
Totally. Yes, Michelle.
Mike, can I just say something about the product launches? Because the last 2 product launches, I had more success with my customers purchasing the products than consultants.
Okay, we want to know why.
Because I've built the relationship with my customers. So I've got customers that have been with me, faithful. They built the wellness home. Every time there's new products come out, they buy the new products just based on my recommendation. because that trust is there, the speed of trust. And do I have dozens of customers that do that? No, I've got maybe 10 at the most, but you know what? Those 10 are faithful and they buy every single time.
Michelle, the key there is that's the same of all the distributors that have been wholesale buyers all along. They have the wellness home. You said that. They've been customers. And I said this on the Platinum Alliance call earlier today. When somebody starts with just that $1,200 package or whatever, and they don't have the water and they don't have sleep, we're saying in all of our product overviews that 70% of North Americans have sleep issues. Sleep is important for hunger. That ties into being overweight. You know, they're all interrelated. The water is important for digestion. And that's the challenge for, I think, when customers have been customers that buy insoles and then they buy the box or whatever. You've had a customer base that have invested, like many of those that still have memberships are still doing at the wholesale. You know, when Rolf said the other day, well, we still have wholesale customers. And I said, no, we do. We have a whole bunch of distributors that have still continued to renew, that are still buying wholesale, that aren't getting rebates on their own or on anybody else that they have under them, because they're still stuck in that model. So now you have the retail customers, because either they might be old ones that fell off or new ones that, because you have that relationship, they have more. That was the issue I had with this product launch coming out the way that it did, for that big of a price. When we've been presented,
it was a soft launch.
Yeah.
It was a soft launch. We didn't have the same, we don't know what it's going to be, the unveiling. So it took away a lot of the chutzpah in our own personal launches. We get that.
It didn't tie in the total wellness package that we're talking about with sleep and water.
That's probably too where the packs are concerned, but our presentations did it.
We did too. So what was happening is people that are coming are buying other products. So there's nothing wrong with having product launches where they're buying other products.
Well, here's the nice thing about this concept, by the way. I wrote a system that is online, but I haven't ever released it. I dare not release it until it's time. But right now, that system includes a monthly product launch, and all the PDFs for each of the Niken technologies are already built into it. The point is, you would host a special event for your customers, a gathering or a recognition evening once a month, and you would feature either a product line or a technology, and that would be their opportunity to come and learn more. And so it's a monthly product launch is what you're doing. So yeah, we could do that. We don't have to wait for Niken to come up with a new product to do that, because most of our people don't know about them. Dee, you have a question? We'll wrap up after that.
You're on mute, Dee. You're still on mute.
Here, let me get you. Gotcha.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You said once they're through the whole process, if they can't make a decision, you make it for them. Could you say a little more about that?
Yeah, if somebody's not able to make a decision, then I just take it away.
Okay, that's what I thought. But so how do you say that? What do you say?
Clearly, this is not for you.
If you change,
you have enough information to know, and you're not making a decision. So this is clearly not for you. If that becomes if that changes. And by the way, talk about effective. It got me a person who's coming down to Orlando, a couple.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
I said, listen, it's okay. If not you, I'll find somebody else. It's all right. And that was it. And that's, again, where am I coming from? I'm not coming from, oh, please, 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 and I have to twist everybody's arm. No, I'm on a mission. I have to find a representative that's going to take care of that province. So I have to find that person. So my commitment is to the objective, and I'm just looking to cast the person who's going to fit that objective. So it comes back to me. It comes back to my expectations.
Well, you know what this is helping? We talk about this, teach 3 to reach 3. And it's for each of us to find the 3 new people. We all need to find new people. There's nothing wrong with 3 new ones every year, because people die and get divorced and move on or whatever, change their minds. And so what we're really sorting for are that's what makes sense out of that. And all the others, if we talk to more, then they can be the customer, or they can be the referral source, or they can be all
Madeline, I'm sorry to interrupt. We're running short on time. I've got another call starting. I've got one more person who's raised their hand, and I haven't addressed that. So Mary Helen Burkdean is on the line. How you doing? I've unmuted you. Go ahead.
Well, this is great, Michael. And of course, I was so thrilled to have spent the weekend with you, or at least the product launch. Madeline, when your analogy about the nursing student, if a nursing student's freaked out about going into a patient's room, if they're not emotionally attached to being a nurse, they're never going to go back into that room again. But if we let people know, and I mean, I've used this nursing analogy a lot. If we go into the room with them, or we go to an appointment with them, or we help them make phone calls, and they're committed and attached to the outcome of being successful with NECAN, then we walk with them and get them through the fear. And if they have to step aside and suck it up and shed a few tears and retool themselves, then that's what they need to do. But I think I know that I have been trying to be such a caretaker. Oh, well, we'll help you do this and we'll help you. No, do you want to do this? Because otherwise, let them be a customer. But I really and truly, after this weekend, Michael, as I drove home, it was just so clear to me that the challenges that I stepped through to build my business with all kinds of stuff going on is because after Humans Being More and really catching the vision, I was emotionally attached to doing whatever it took to build this business. And I know that I know with all the shifts and stuff we've had here, I haven't really been able to be real clear with new people. And those are the people that I want to work with. And those are the ones that are going to energize me, not take away from the mission here. And so I'm feeling like having both oars in the water now of the network marketing and building people and doing the transformational piece that it takes to become successful, because there's so many components to being able to be successful, like you and other leaders in this business. And the products, as amazing as they are, have to be the other oar, along with transforming people and getting them through their fear and helping them figure out how to wipe their tears and retool themselves and get out there and really build people. Because I know I certainly haven't been, but I feel really like I've gotten connected to where I was 20 years ago. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. We got to wrap up, guys. I just want to remind you too, Ben did a call last week that was really good about tools, and he went over some of the simple tools and how to access them that I think sort of covered the full range of stuff. But yeah, the key, again, I guess the driving point for this particular call is if you don't have a system, aka a protocol that you're following very clearly defined, then you're going to be loosey-goosey about stuff, and you're not going to know where you go off the rails. It's hard to help somebody when you don't have clearly. I love what Larry Prophet used to say, how many of you like rules? Everybody says no. Okay, so if you're playing a game of sports, how many of you like rules? Everybody says yes, because you want to know how to win, right? You need the rules. So same thing. The system defines the protocol, defines the rules of engagement. And if we're going to be engaged with somebody, not only do you need to know, but they need to know. They need to know what the rules are so they know how to win. Okay, thanks everybody. Been a great call. Looking forward to seeing everybody down in Orlando. For those of you who can't make it, we'll bring our best back home for you on the call on Monday, so you get your fill from us. So next Monday there will be a call. Please bring your intel for the rest of the team that didn't get a chance to be there. All right.
Safe travels, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.